Mini Me here. Um, and today's topic, actually, it's like two topics, but they are really closely related to each other. A lot of people ask me, and this is either when they meet me or online or when I'm at somebody's show or just straight up when we are at an event and they drink my coffee and they kind of wonder why my coffee tastes different, right? Why I like it. I have, if in terms of percentages of people that I met in person, probably I'm gonna say, let's go very conservative. It's more, but let's tone it down. I can tell you right now, I have had probably over 90% success rate in terms of people liking my product, and that's all right. That's a good thing. So. And then during those events or encounters, or online, or ask me, or whatever, I have a very specific question that I usually try to answer to the best of my abilities. They want to know how can they make their coffee at home better. And sometimes, or most of the time, they think because I own espresso equipment or my grinder or whatever, which is partially true. But the fact is that you can improve whatever you have at home. Let me turn that clicker off. However you make your coffee at home, you can definitely improve. And the biggest jump in improvement has nothing to do with equipment, has nothing to do with technique. All of those help, but those are small incremental improvement compared to what I'm about to talk about. And basically you need to start, and if you buy a Breville machine or any machine, like any machine, or Super Auto, DeLonghi, Breville, I don't know, whatever brand you like, Ninja is coming out with a very nice machine recently. The first thing they're gonna say in their instruction is you need to use, this is the key, fresh roasted coffee. You will be amazed how many people don't even understand what that means. And you know why? They're so used to drinking coffee pretty much all their life, or coffee drinking life, with stale, old coffee, that they do not understand the difference until they come up to me, to a guy like me, and they ask me, how can they improve? Why yours tastes better? Why? And they think again it's the equipment or me, and as I said, equipment, technique, yes, that's gonna improve, but the improvement is gonna be very small in increments compared to the biggest of all, fresh roasted coffee. That is a biggie. That is the biggest improvement you can do with your coffee, no matter how you brew it, no matter how much you know or how little you know. The fact that you're gonna use fresh roasted coffee is gonna improve your coffee a lot. I mean, if you are used to using old stale coffee, and that basically, look at that golf cart, that's awesome. I don't know if my camera can catch it. He's riding on the US 27 sidewalk on a golf cart. That is, again, maybe my camera can catch that a little bit. It's somewhere there. You're gonna see it right there. You see that guy? That is completely illegal. And more importantly, dumb and dangerous. But hey, it is what it is. He's still going that way. And you know what? He's probably going to those, no, he's still driving down range. But anyways, so yeah, fresh roasted coffee, it is the biggest improvement you can do for a better cup. Period. No, hands down. It doesn't matter how you brew it. It doesn't matter if you use a sock, like my grandma used to do. It doesn't matter you have thousands of dollars espresso equipment or super automatic equipment. It really doesn't matter. Fresh roasted coffee is the main key to produce a better cup. And okay, so what does that mean? Like, how you know you're using fresh roasted coffee? Unfortunate, in most supermarket scenarios, you won't. smells good. You're used to that smell anyways. But the truth is, supermarket coffee goes by a date that we roasters or micro roasters don't use. This is the second part of this presentation. The roasted date. When that coffee was produced, when that coffee was roasted. That's the key. If you buy coffee like mine from Jose.coffee or any good roaster that actually cares about their product, their bags, whether it's a sticker or however, they're gonna have their roasted day, when the coffee was made, when the coffee was roasted. That's the important date, because there are X amount of days, weeks or months, depending how you drink it, depending on the roast levels, that you have to use that bag of coffee before start going stale, before start going bad. I'm gonna put here some pictures. I just recently went to a supermarket with a brand that I know really well. It's an Italian brand actually. I think I have pictures of two different ones. I'm not sure. Yeah, I have. I don't think I'm gonna name the brand because I'm not here to bash them or anything. That's not my goal. You can drink whatever you want. But in those bags, one only had the supermarket day, which is the best buy or use by date. Remember, that's a supermarket day. Supermarket kind of need products that stay on those shelves fresh the longest time possible. Coffee is one of those. Coffee can stay fresh for a long time. I'm using air quotes because fresh to me has a different meaning than supermarket fresh. So if you go to the supermarket coffee aisle with the gazillion options, you're gonna check every bag, no matter the brand. I'm not gonna mention brands, it doesn't matter. Like, this is not about bashing this or bashing, no. This is to teach you, all right, what that means, why this is like this, why the coffee tastes different. And basically, check those bags and you're gonna have a used by or best buy, like any other product in the supermarket, like the milk or the bread or anything. In coffee, I want to give you a very broad reference, but it's kind of accurate. And in the picture that I'm going to put here, you're going to see it. You're going to see what I'm going to say. Whatever date it says used by or best buy in standard coffee market products, at least subtract 1 year, and that's when the coffee was roasted. I think the one I have in my hands is when I got it. I think it's 2 years almost. So most are 2 years, but let's use it 1 year. Even 1 year is old enough. So that means the coffee was roasted a year prior that day, at least. And the one I'm going to show you, you're going to see it's almost pretty much 2 years. Why is that important? Well, let's go back to roasted date. The day that I care, the day that I believe is the right one. Because I have used it, I know it's how it works. That date, from the moment you roast the coffee and bag the coffee, the stale meter start going, like it keeps going, right? Basically, that's the way it works. Coffee is like any other food, right? So for the most part, unless you are a true espresso aficionado, and by that I mean you have very good equipment, you know the technique well, you have very specialized grinders, unless you are like that, for most people, the coffee can last easily 30, 60, 90 days. No sweat. The longer it goes, the less fresh, of course, it is, and the flavor is going to change. That's the nature of coffee. Now, those numbers are going to be more relative to depending on the roast level. The darker the roast is, the faster it's gonna go stale. Okay? The lighter the roast is, the longer it's gonna remain fresh. Alright? That's a very basic rule. But a lot of people try to buy 5 pounds bag of coffee because they save money, or 2 packs. Don't do that. If you wanna really enjoy good coffee, don't do that. Buy the coffee that's gonna last you at the most a month. At the most. Most of my customers, the coffee lasts them 2 weeks. And if you buy coffee for a month, and if you still want to buy a gazillion pounds, buy 2 months of coffee. But believe me, you want to enjoy really good coffee, buy smaller amounts more frequently. Okay? That date, that roasted date, it's gonna indicate how good that coffee is gonna be, for sure. No doubt about it. Now, I mentioned the darker you roast, the faster it goes stale, the lighter you go, the longer it takes, right? That doesn't mean it's gonna go way longer, twice as much, 6 months, and still gonna be good. That doesn't mean that, okay? It just means that because of the nature of the roast, it just stays longer fresh. That's all it means, all right? Now, everything that I have said is to try to show you or demonstrate you or explain you why when you go to a guy like me, my little coffee truck or a coffee shop, and the coffee is like, why I cannot do this at home? For the most part, it's the coffee freshness, guaranteed. Another thing you need to understand about coffee is something that needs to be stored properly. And let me, right now, off the bat, because I met a lot of people that do this, do not ever put your coffee in your fridge. That's the worst thing you can do to coffee. People think that putting the coffee in the fridge, it's gonna take longer. No, that's the worst you can do. You know why? Because coffee goes really bad, really fast with, guess what? Moisture. And every time you open your fridge, just opening the door, you introduce a difference in temperature, and that's gonna create moisture inside that fridge. Guess where the moisture is gonna go? Into that coffee. And you take that little bag or container or whatever you store it, and take your coffee out and put it back in. Every time you do that, you're reintroducing moisture in the coffee. Fresh moisture. So anyways, don't do that. So unless you have very specialized containers to properly store coffee, you don't have to. I'm not advocating here go on a shopping spree and buy the latest and greatest. I'm gonna show to you if you wanna do it, but you don't have to. Just leave the coffee in the bag if the bag is resealable properly, meaning with at least a Ziploc. Unfortunately, some coffee roasters use these bags with zip ties, or even when you open them, you only can roll them back. I mean, that's kind of okay, unless you have a proper container. Leave the coffee in the bag that came with. All right. Use a coffee like mine and most roasters, they're gonna have a Ziploc. But another important thing it's gonna have is a valve. You're gonna see a little hole, a little valve. That's a one-way valve, meaning it's meant to take whatever's inside that bag out and do not allow anything back in. Mainly, guess what? Air, right? So when you roast coffee and it's fresh, it releases CO2. One of the components that goes in a byproduct of roasting coffee. And when you do that, and you put it in the bag, even after you don't roast it, the coffee keeps expanding, all right? And keep releasing CO2. If you don't have one of those valves, the bag can go poof, because the pressure inside the bag is gonna be higher because of the CO2. So So that valve is designed to allow the CO2 to go up. But also, if you buy the coffee with a proper bag that you can reseal with a Ziploc, all you have to do is squeeze the air as much as you can before you seal it with the Ziploc, and then once you seal it, keep squeezing so whatever air is inside that bag goes out. And you can try this in let's say you don't have one. Go to the supermarket or anywhere you buy coffee and find bags that have what I've just told you, and you'll see what I mean. You'll see that you can squeeze it and actually smell the coffee. I use that when I go to roasters and they say, oh, I have this coffee, and I don't know them, so I smell, by smelling the coffee, I know what I'm getting. I don't even have to know the date. Fresh coffee has a very unique smell that I like a lot. So anyways, leave the coffee in the bag you bought it from, no matter if the bag is 12 ounces, 1 pound, or 5 pounds, and leave it in your counter, leave it in your, your kitchen pantry. Never put it in the fridge. Never do that. Now, another thing about coffee. The reason coffee roasters, commercial, big names, whatever, do what they do is that when they roast the coffee, they basically, what the hell is going on here? Oh. When they roast the coffee, the high-end ones, and that's a good thing. I don't do that because, number one, I don't have the equipment or the money. Number two, I sell only 12-ounce bags, and you can use 12 ounce in 1 month. You have other issues. Sorry. They do what is called a nitrogen flush. All right. So those bags, when they're sealed, during the sealing process, in the bagging process, they flush with nitrogen, right? And they seal the bag. That's a really good thing. That's why you can buy a coffee, nitrogen flush bags, 6 months, 8 months down the road, and you say, man, that coffee still smells good, except for one little detail. As soon as you open that bag, nitrogen is gone. And guess who's the new guest? Air. So now that coffee that you kind of stopped the stale meter, and I say kind, it's still going, now it's gonna go like, oh my God. So again, I'm just explaining to you what commercial big guys can do or will do, which is a good thing. I'm saying it's not a bad thing, actually. But you need to be careful, that's all. So the third component of this discussion, fresh roasted coffee, roasted day, now you know what that is something that is the most important thing ever in coffee. I mean, number one, it even tops what I just told you. And every time I talk about coffee, every time somebody asks me, I said this, what really matters is taste. Period. And only yours is the one that counts. It doesn't matter how it tastes to me. It doesn't matter how it tastes to any barista. It matters how it tastes to you. You're the one paying for it. You're the one brewing the coffee. You're the one drinking that. And if your taste buds are in the years and years and years of using the blue can or the red can, you know what I mean, at the supermarket, or you go to the traditional, everybody knows the coffee shops, and that's or where America runs with coffee, right? Look at this dude, what an idiot! Just a truck that went like this on the main road, like just people doing stupid shit. That's okay. I mean, that is your taste. Like a lot of roasters, including myself, go to really they try in their description of the coffee to say, oh, this will taste like they give you an idea, right, of how this is gonna taste. But in my years of experience, that's just a basic reference, to be honest. Don't use it for anything else. Let me give you an example. There's a procedure called cupping in coffee roasting, right? Where as soon as you roast the coffee, as soon as you can, you grind this coffee, and there's actually cups for, it's just coffee cups, but some are made specifically for cupping. And you brew that coffee with hot water, and there's a procedure to skim, and you let it there for 5 to 10 minutes, and with a spoon you slurp it, and you try that. And the reason that's kind of important, because as soon as the coffee is roasted, the roaster is trying to figure out, okay, what this tastes like. What are the notes, taste notes, attributes of this particular coffee? Because believe it or not, and you don't know this by now, coffee is a fruit, right? Technically, it's a fruit. It's a cherry actually, and depending where it's grown, what kind of seeds, or how it was processed, it can change. The same cherry can change flavors, and depending how it's roasted, right? So a roaster, when it has an unknown coffee, like hey, this is a new crop, whatever, they do this process called cupping to try to figure out, okay, how this coffee is gonna taste like, right? If you compare cupping to anything you might do at home, it will be very close to French press. It's an immersion type of brewing, meaning the coffee and the water are gonna be together all the time, versus pour over, or like Mr. Coffee, with its drip coffee drip from the top, goes through the coffee and immediately goes down. Immersion brewing, the coffee stays together. Whether you do cold brew or hot brew, cupping is very similar to French press, similar in the process. Not exactly the same technique, but it's just hot coffee with water. Hot water with coffee, I don't know, 5 minutes maybe, and then you let it cool down 5 more minutes, and you try it, and you see how it tastes like. And you can do that right after you roast, like right after you really fresh coffee, you can do that. So, but to be honest, whatever that roaster tasted, that doesn't mean it's gonna taste that to you. Period. That's not how it works. Because your taste buds are very unique. Each one is very unique. They're very sensitive to anything. Drop the sink up here. This is my coffee bar sink. I'm just unfortunately for me, it's a small sink for my coffee area home that I'm rebuilding, and it's good stainless steel, I found out. So these little tools that I have, that I bought on Amazon, they were really good for drilling holes like this that I need on all the aluminum in this box, right? Aluminum is strong, but when it comes to drilling, it's not that hard like stainless steel. Well, I tried to use that, and guess what happened? It didn't work. I need a 1-inch hole, and I barely got to a 1/4 inch, and those tools are gone. And it's just stainless. Peter is a industrial type guy. He has all kinds of tools. So he told me he'll do it, But anyways, he's always so nice. I'm glad I can see him, and brought him some coffee. Not because of the stupid sink. I'll pay him. I like to bring him coffee. But anyways, I'm gonna move a quick stop here. So after I do that quick stop, I'm just gonna continue with the fresh roasted day taste conversation. But the stop I'm making is a place in Leesburg called Donut King, and believe me, these are the best donuts in town, guaranteed. They are. So, when it comes to coffee or anything, but especially coffee, taste is really important, and only yours that counts. It's as simple as that. It doesn't matter what you taste is good to you and crap to me. It doesn't matter. It's what tastes to you. Now I guarantee you, when you use fresh roasted coffee in a decent amount of time after it was roasted, you will experience coffee in a very different way. Another thing with coffee is that because people use so much sugars and milks and syrups, I call that drinking dessert. I don't call that drinking coffee. They mask the unpleasant taste of stale old coffee, just the way it is. That's why these companies, big name companies, number one, they roast the crap out of the coffee that's super dark. And number two, I mean, they had a little boiling, so I don't expect the coffee to be super, old, but it could be. All right. Be clear. And so yeah, the taste part is highly related to the roast level and when it was roasted.